The end of the last Locost update was pish. Let's fix this. Many of you will probably agree that is an unbelievably useful feature in a workshop, being able to shut the door. Because what it allows is peace, quiet. But I'll cut to the chase here. I was watching a Adam Savage video recently, of all people. The guy used to be on Mythbusters and is quite iconic in his level of workshop abilities. Anyway, long story short, he said something at the start of one of his episodes that kind of resonated with me. And that is, I've bought myself a day. And what I meant by that was, he's managed to make sure nobody's going to interrupt him. He's got no pressing engagements. He's got no plans that he needs to end things for at a set time. He just has a full day to go and do something. Now, being that he's infinitely more talented than I am, he managed to build, I think it was an entire lightsaber on that day. But what I've done is the same. I don't have any MX5 things to do. The Supra's fine. Nobody's going to come through that door. Rather than our usual low-cost content, where I'll draw a big snag list, get through half of it, fuck up the other half of it, and then get pissed off at the end. I'm going to use a whole day, and with that whole day, achieve one task. But the question is what? Because as we all know, there's many open tasks on this car. We could finish off the center console thing, but to be honest, I'm going to leave that for another snag list because it's not going to take me a full episode to do. Similarly, we've got a roll cage down here. Well, yeah, it just needs paint. It's not particularly interesting. Moving around the back, I've got many things I could happily fit, such as the fuel tank and everything else, but we're just not quite done here yet, so probably not worth getting into that, because it's going to take me more than a day. So, as I skirt around the rest of the car and realise that I think I'm inevitably going to have to do a snag list, one task I can probably knock out in a day is sitting right in front of me. Or more rather, isn't sitting in front of me. Let's deal with those lovely seats. Of course, that being said, I've already lied. I will need to deal with this roll cage. But it's just to move it because, well, A, it's in the way, but it's also going to form quite a critical part on these seats because I did kind of jump the gun putting the Kirkies in. The reason being, I picked the height and picked the driving position and it was fine. But I've also now introduced a roll cage, so it seems unlikely that I'm going to put seats in that will have my head poking above the roll cage line, but it's not out with the realms of possibility. After all, it's me we're talking about. So what I need to do is just rough mount this cage back to where it should sit, just to give me a maximum height reference point. And that, as we all probably know, means guessing 16mm. Guessing what oddball size these bolts are. I think what we'll do today is you're probably going to have to put up with my just banal musings as we go. I feel like I probably don't talk as much as I do, or as much as I should, on these low-cost updates. And it's just becoming it's a time-lapse thing. So, you've got me for a day, so I'm going to blather for a day. But this will be time-lapse because it's sensorific. And we're back. That's the cage in, reassuringly heavy for a lightweight sports car. Although I don't think there's actually anything in the way of a carbon fibre cage by this day and age, is there? I don't know. If there is, I don't know if I trust it. Anyway, I'm just going to chuck a couple of bolts in to stop this falling over. We don't need War and Peace with it. It's coming back out for paint anyway. I'd rather not have it land on my bloody head. So, this is interesting. Nothing lines up anymore. Bloody hell. I remember this being high, because obviously we're going to curve the front of this down. I don't remember it being quite as high as that, but what the hey. Okay. Let's have a look at seats. Right, well the good news is 8mm bolts work, so it's not some crazy imperial nonsense. I decided to dig out the old Kirky base that I'd made up, just to kind of jog the memory really more than thinking it's going to work, because my gut instinct was that quite clearly these are going to be wrong, because the chances of the Kirkys and these having the same bases are nil. But I'm quite glad I dug it out, because once again it has demonstrated to me that I have a really bad habit of kind of just half-arsing something and thinking I'll come back to it later. Like this. I mean, what was I thinking? Clearly this was whatever was lying around. We'll make it up and we'll deal with it later. Except it looks terrible and we can do better, is my thought. So looking at it, it's nowhere near, but it's actually close if I put it at 90 degrees. That's how far out these are. Anyway, this isn't going to work, but the good reason for digging it out is I was trying to see how it was supposed to tie into the floor. And I can't. And this is an interesting point as well, because I've got a funny feeling I actually did the original ones upside down. So what I mean by that is, these bolted onto the seat, and then for some reasons, the runner then was on the floor, which is really back to front. So I remember not thinking this was very good, and it's one of the other reasons, aside from like piles, that I really wanted not to use the Kirkys. At least if I was going to use the Kirkys, I was definitely going to revise the base. But anyway, that's scrap, basically. That's the point I was making there. Right, now I need to dig out the spare runners that I had, which are somewhere. Fucking hell. Oh no, is that it? No, it's not there. I really need to tidy this place up. Once again, up the sketchiest set of ladders. Now I do remember filing these, in fairness. I put them in a rather natty little box. And the thing is, I can't remember where I put the box. Excuse me. Oh, there's there. Right in front of me. So in here, we will have enough seat adjusters to do a 4-seater version of a Locost. I'm a hoarder, in case it's not immediately obvious. Let's see if the seat adjusters will give us some clues. I need to dry run these as well, because... Right, how do they work? So you want to be lifting that up. Right, so that has to go there. Talk amongst yourselves. Right, that's what I did wrong the last time. So I put these in thinking they need to sit in this wee groove. And so that's cool, you lift it up and the thing moves. But what happens is the seat moves, but this stayed still. That's not the way to do it. So what we're going to have to do is put it around this way. And you lift that up, yes. Yes, right, so that means that this moves. All of that waffle means that the fat bit is what goes onto the seat. And it's nowhere close. But that's a good thing, because it helps to dictate where the bracket needs to be. So if the bottom bit, yes, this is good, because the bottom bit in that case goes in the car. But I'm going to have problems with that as well. What the fuck was I thinking? We can pretty much go completely off piste by this point and just start again. The only thing I need to be aware of is height. Height is my enemy. I want to be as low as possible in this. So this is the musings, or what I like to call phase 1 of Operation Try Not to Fuck Up Your Seats. So what I've done, we've got the measurements for the seat. As you can see, seat back, so we're 290 across, 330 down. And I've also laid out the measurements for the adjuster. So it's obviously completely different, but it has a set width because of the bar that you use to pull to open it and lock it and adjust it. So annoyingly, it's wider at 340 and shorter at 265. So the theory here, what I need is some form of seat to adjuster adapter bracket that will go from the seat's long and thin mounts and splay out to the short and fat mounts of the adjuster. Now, yes, that's fine in principle, but bear in mind that this is 2D, because we also have clearance to consider, because this, when it pulls up, will intrude into the seat space. Now, not by a tremendous amount, I hasten to add. We can probably write off whatever assembly bracket thing I need to make to adapt that will actually clear all of this. So, and bear in mind it needs to go, like, I've measured this and this as being my points. So we are going to go forward from that, backwards from that. So realistically, the seat itself has loads of clearance, and if we even make it like 5 mil, 5 mil is going to be enough. So that's fine in principle. What I also will need to consider though is the other 3D elements. Now, I'm starting to build quite a bit of height here, which I'm quite conscious of. I've also done this, because again, you need to think 3 steps ahead. So I put the seat in with the back right butted against the rear firewall a bit, and I've drawn where the bolts sit on the floor. So as you can see, we're actually kind of centre, which is fine. Now this is fully back as well, so this has scope to move much further forward. But that's not a million miles away from this is, so still plenty of scope to tie in whatever nonsense we make into these support spars. So again, not that bad a thing, but got to be conscious, this is the seats measurements. So we are going to be 25 mil out on each side of that for whatever the adjuster needs to tie into. But I'm not worried about this, it's actually close enough. What I am worried about is strength. Now, if I'm splaying these out on 2 sides with basically 2 C-clamps like this, there's this potential. So when you sit in the seat, it's just going to pull down and the weight's going to pull against the adjusters without any form of reinforcement between the two. So this is where it gets tricky, and I've had the same problem with the MX-5 seats and every other seat I've adapted. Without tying the 2 of these in, you get the flex. And if you do tie them in, you get the sore bum, because a spar going right across here, with the proximity it's going to be to the seat, is going to be right under your arse. Now you need spring and gap and stuff like that. And if I put it too close to the front, we don't get that adjuster opening up. So probably going to make this up as a first draft with these 2 brackets, fit it up and see where I can run strength across the 2. Conversely, if we do have good enough mounts here, we might look at putting the strength in that. See, this is why these things take a while, and why I did kind of want to do one of these, let's do a start to finish on one of my tasks, because this might not even be what I do. I just kind of have to dream it up and see where it takes me. But the next question is, how do we make this? Now, obvious thing would be, well, let's make it out of plate steel, but weight penalty. What else have I got lying around really? Well, I do have thinner sort of 18 mil section that I did with this, which does have the potential for working, but this will need to be a through hole, so it needs to be a bolt that chucks into here. But this can vary, because the seat adjuster will have a through hole in it as well. But again, whatever I do, the seat adjuster has to still be boltable into whatever we put into the floor. And all of this has to be somewhat accessible, because there's no space around about it. Alright, I've further pondered the orb here, and the height thing is kind of worrying me, not gonna lie. So this seat to the adjuster bracket, that's going to be at worst 25 mil, right? This adjuster mechanism is also 25 millimeter thick, so that's 50 mil. And don't forget, from here to the floor, we're possibly also going to need another 25 mil bracket just to attach it to, well, the car. That's a total of 75 millimeter of height I've just added to this. So I went and got some wood, and let's see what 25 mil of actual height does to my seating position. My first thoughts are it's going to fucking ruin it, but don't judge it until you try it. You never know, I might get in this and it's actually perfect. I doubt it, because my leg's going to be resting in the bloody transmission tunnel, but you never know. Really must practice this. Oh. This is not how you get in, there's wood in the way, alright? I'm not going to look this ungainly normally. Oh. Yeah, that's fucked up really. I mean, has it though? Height-wise, I'm okay. I mean, I've still got fucking loads of room. That's what, 100 mil between my head and the lower part of the roll cage, so that's alright. But I don't know, it just feels high. It feels high. Is it high though, or is it just because the car's off the ground? When you see these things out and about, Do you see the tops of drivers' legs hanging over the side? The side's pretty low, isn't it? I'd feel like I'm sitting on it. That's my thoughts. I feel like I'm sitting on it, not in it. But really, is 25mm going to make a difference? I tell you what, my fat leg actually has clearance over this side tunnel. That's maybe positive. And I'm quite far back. Can I pull that forward without killing myself? So there's kind of my driving position, more or less, right? Yeah, this was way higher. I remember the wheel being way higher. I'm sitting a lot higher up. Although it's not bad. I can always get like a spacer. I can bring the wheel forward because I want the wheel here, but that's fine. That's not a big issue. The pedals, well, the pedals are pedals. I'm wearing boots, so gear stick will be here. I mean, a bit forward. It's all right, but I want it lower. That's kind of the crux of it. 25mm drop. Will that be enough? See, the thing is, right, I've always envisioned sitting in this car, having the side tunnels being part of the support. But is that really the way it's going to work? Can't remember. I might need to go and have a look at pictures of Locost and see how folk have done this. Also, right, I'm making this for the IVA. I can always fix the seat for me at a later point in time. But this needs lower. Right, 25mm for that bracket's out. That's not going to work. That needs to be thinner. 25mm for the adjuster, I've got no choice in. If the adjuster sits in these rails... Right. Oh, don't watch this. It's not a pretty sight. Right, this is a ballpark height of about 40mm off, which I'll need to find some way of working around, but I just want to see if this is going to work. Right, more ungainly entry and exit. Yes. Yeah, right, so I'm in the car now, not on it. Got a good line up the side here. So in fact, if I just stretch my legs out, yeah, it just feels more natural with this bar covering your leg. I'm still a bit high on this side, but I can kind of live with it. The seat's still supporting me. Obviously, when we move it forward, that'll be better. But yeah, I need to be lower. The challenge is working out how to be. Right, back to the drawing board. Back out of this. God, that's better. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not in love with the idea of adding this much weight, but I'm also not really keen to go removing a whole load of strength, especially with this summer. My arse needs to be really contingent and remaining. So, as you can see, we've got our plot out for what will be the mad bracket I was talking about. So, these outermost ones will be where the seat's held, and these innermost ones will be where the adjuster's held. The theory is that this extra rib that will point up the side of the seat should clear the seat. But what I'm going to do is drill the outer seat holes first, 9mm, and then we'll offer it up to the seat and see if it's actually going to clear it before we waste any more time on this, because that's 40mm, and I'm pretty sure I've got that in the sides of the seats, but no point in doing mountains of work if it doesn't actually do the thing. So the other point to note, obviously, we can tidy this up. I mean, it's self-coloured angle iron, it's not pretty, but it can be made prettier. And if it is the de facto solution, we can stamp holes in it and make it a bit lighter. But for the moment, this is my working plan. So, drill. I hate the squealing of a drill. It's more of an irritant than a PPE requirement. Try that. Alright. I mean, I'll try it because it's worryingly accurate for my standards of work, but yeah, that'll work. Right. Yeah. I can't put this to the inside because it'll interfere with the actual bar. I can't put this up. Well, or can I? Or can't I? No. Fucking hell. Time for a tactical thinking biscuit here, and today's unit of choice is a Viscount. Apologies, that's probably crackling right in the mic. So, minty goodness to freshen up the ideas. So, I'm talking with my mouth full. Fucking hell. That's not going to work, but, start again. That's not going to work for the driver's side, but this standoff will probably work for the passenger side. So this angle line idea is not a scrapper. I'll just adapt it to work there. Do the cutouts, make whatever additional for the passenger side, and the height will help to stand off to whatever I do with the driver's side. So I just need to do the thing. What do I need to do? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Right, I've gone about this all completely wrong. Simplify. I am standing these out wider than the chair's bolt holes because this has dictated it because of its width. But I can change this. Therefore, if I bring these in and just extend straight, it all sits in line. I can just weld through the holes and make these brackets longer, hang them in perfectly in line with these. Yeah, perfectly in line with those. The bolting pattern will still be the same as, in fact, the bolting pattern will be even better because I'll have the standoff. It'll be gapped further. The runners won't be affected. And then we just need to make that, make that mount onto there. Right, that's far simpler. We just deal with that stupid bloody handle. Tactical biscuit. Never underestimate the tactical biscuit. Version 2.0 is coming on okay, excepting that we're going to modify this. These would normally bolt to a seat with any of these wide variety of holes, and the base of the car with these variety of slots. So what I'm going to do is use two big plates of steel, which are the right length, basically the same length as these angle iron bits that I cut before, except, well, what I've actually done is take a length of angle iron and just chop in the middle of it, the same as those. So these will accept these, like so. Now, actually, I'll demonstrate this a bit better. We've got a number of holes, and that's the plate that two holes will take into the seat. we can move this in and out. So there are bolt holes that you'll normally use to bolt this to the seat. I'm going to weld through them and basically make this part an integral bracket. But what I need to make sure is that I still have the bolt holes for this that go into the seat lining up with the channel that this produces. My bolt will have to sit in this bit here, because if it's out to the left or to the right, it's going to catch and it's just going to look like crap and not work. So that's going to be the challenge, which shouldn't really be a challenge, but I'll make it a challenge anyway because it's me. So the only other thing I'll need to be wary of with this is they must be symmetrical. They must be. Now the reason for that being, if I draw these slightly off, you'd think that's fine. These can be slightly off and then we can take out the error, except we can't because these need to match. These need to be level. So if I weld them on squint, this thing just doesn't work right. It never clips into the seat right. These are all teethed, but they adjust the up and down nonsense. So they've got to be perfectly parallel. So that's the challenge now. But I think once that's done and that's bolted in, it's just a simple case of working out how we take all of that, bolt it to the floor, give it a paint, fire the two seats in, done. Alright, so that bends really easily and doesn't need modded. So what was I worried about? Right, seat mounting, found a solution, well, conjured a solution, obviously. Really conscious that I can't find my selfie stick, which sounds really gay, but you know, you're very close to me right now, personal space. The solution looks like this. So, as you can see, I have cut out angle iron, little brackets that will sit in here, a bit like that. Now don't worry about the notch, because the fronts will butt that way, and the rears will butt this way, so it'll always clamp. And what is this last bit for, I hear you ask? Well, I'm about to weld that to these, a bit like so, with a nice clamp holding it here to keep it all level. And this bit will be my standoff for here, which will give me the extra length with a hole bracket that I need to hit these. Anyway, that doesn't really make sense now, but it will once you see it done. So, one for the front, one for the back, inch bolts, and that'll do it. And given that we're well down the line in the episode here, I'm going to just expedite this into a montage. So, here's how we finalise this. found it. Not bad. So I need to let paint dry, which means my 8-hour window is going to be humped. I didn't really think of that. Didn't think I'd actually get this far to the point where it was in paint, but it is. And whilst it would be tempting to get the heat gun out, blast this and fire it up to wrap the episode up, I'm probably just going to let that cure properly, because it's getting cold these days, and we'll fire it in the next time, when we also deal with the passenger side. And inevitably have to mod this because it doesn't fit, but come on, optimism here, guys. So listen, hit me up in the comments. What do you think? Is this new blether for 40 minutes long chat going to be worth it, or do you want to just see the montagey previous stuff that we do? Open to suggestions, want to hear your feedback, let me know what you think. If you're sick of the sound of my voice already, I won't be offended. I am as well, so just let me know. Also, usual chat, like, bell, subscribe, YouTube, do the thing, all that nonsense. Patreon.com/dealsandtrack is why you've not seen an ad and the music's not been crap, so if you want to say thanks for that, jump over, you get content in advance and all that jazz, so it's worth it, do us a solid. Anyway, I have definitely waffled on enough. This is the end of the episode. Picking up on this along the centre tunnel next time, and until next week guys, drive safe.